Buzzing with Miss B.
Hello, this is Chrissy from Buzzing with Miss B, and I am here today to share with you a writing intervention strategy that is going to support your kids when they cannot figure out what to write about. So, this is part of my writing intervention toolkit for narrative writing. It comes with the teacher's guide to writing intervention and the writing intervention strategy ring for narrative writing. 72 lessons that you can use to help your struggling writers change the way things are going at every step in the writing process. So this lesson that we're going to share today is lesson number 4, generating ideas by mapping a special place. So whenever you are working with a student who has a lot of experiences but can't think of anything to write about, which happens all of the time, this is a strategy that you can use. You're going to model choosing your own special place where you spend a lot of time or where you spent a lot of time. You want to choose a place that is going to be relevant to children because if not, they're not really going to connect and get inspired by the things that you're talking about. So I'm going to choose my grandmother's house. My grandma's name was Grandma Margie, and my grandfather we called Grandpap. And they lived in a house with an entryway here. Here's the front door. Here's the entryway. They had this big rock in the front yard that we like to stand on and pretend like it was some sort of a pirate ship, I think. So I'm going to label that rock ship. Okay. And then whenever you walked in, there was this entryway. It was kind of open like this. And then over here was a living room. And then here was a dining room. And here was a really big den that went all the way back. And then here was the kitchen. And in the den, there was a TV. And my grandfather used to sit right here in his recliner. And bedrooms were all back this way, obviously. So my grandfather used to sit right here, Grandpap's chair. And he would eat pistachios that he kept in a little bowl on this shelf. And over here, this is where the sofa was. And my grandma used to sit right in the end of the sofa, Grandma's spot. And she kept on the coffee table a bowl of window green lifesavers. And she would unwrap all of them first and leave them in that little bowl and just eat them like every evening she had a few. In the kitchen, sometimes my grandfather, he was an island here, and he had a bread maker right here, and he would make bread in the bread maker, and then he would serve it up nice thick slices with honey, and it was so good. And then over here was the dining room table. The table went this way, and then we would celebrate. They always would do a cake from, I think, Albertsons or Sam's. It was a cake from Sam's. And then everybody would get their name on the cake for that month. So if your birthday was in October, and there were like 7 October birthdays, they'd have all of the October names on that cake, and everybody got to blow out their candles at the same time. And then in the backyard, it's a big backyard with trees. My grandfather put little swings on the trees that he made out of planks and rope. And whenever they broke, he would fix them. So we would push the little kids on the swings. And then my brothers and my cousins used to play football in the backyard. And they called it the SFL, the Sherwood Football League. And they had special rules about how many 2-minute warnings they were allowed to have at the end of the game and how much time parents had to let them know the game was over. And so they'd play in the backyard while I hung out over here with my mom. My mom sat here, my grandfather sat here, and my grandmother sat here, and I sat here. And we would hang out here and listen to stories about where my grandparents grew up in Pennsylvania, and they were both the children of coal miners. So they would tell stories here, okay? This garage always smelled like sawdust because my grandfather would work with wood sometimes, and that smell still reminds me of being a kid in my grandparents' house today. So if I need an idea to write about, I can take out my map of my grandparents' house and I can look through it and sort of observe it, and I can choose a story to write about. I could choose to write about how we celebrated our birthdays one month. I could choose to write about how my grandparents used to come and wave goodbye to us as we would drive away. And my grandma would wear her nightgown, and my grandfather had his warm-ups that were too short because he was very tall. And so maybe I could write a story about that and how the garage smelled like sawdust. I could write a narrative about making bread and having that big delicious slab of bread with honey on top. But I have lots of ideas to choose from that I could write about. So then you ask your students to do the same thing. They brainstorm all the things that happen in their place. Sometimes just drawing this map helps you think of things. I have not thought of that bread maker in years. I have not thought about those wintergreen lifesavers in years. But drawing the map helps you remember things. So then your student will draw their own map. They will have their own ideas to write about marked on there, and then they can select an idea and get them moving if they have been stuck. So this is idea number 4, mapping a special place for generating ideas. And again, it is part of the Narrative Writing Intervention Toolkit on TPT. You can get it at my TPT store, Chrissy Beltran, Buzzing with Miss B. And you can check me out on any social media at Buzzing with Miss B so I can share more ideas about reading and writing with you. Happy teaching. Thanks for watching.